guilds of Tyria have grown and expanded despite the destruction of the Battle Isles. Balthazar helped raise a new temple in Lion's Arch, stepping on the hearthstone of the construction and opening a gate there to the mists, so that the heroes of the world would compete in contest. But these guilds are not racially aligned as they were in the past. No longer restricted merely to humans, they accept heroes of all societies into their halls. The Asura easily fit into the guild system, using guilds as they would any other crew designed for a task. To the Char, guilds are like warbands. They do not replace the loyalty the Char hold to their legion, but instead allow them unique opportunities to display their strength and increase their own personal reputations as ferocious combatants. Norn are always eager for a fight, and their loyalty to friends make them a blessing to any combat force. Sylvari bring unique and unpredictable strengths to a guild, and are eager to enter into any danger simply for the experience of it. Guilds are a prominent force in Tyria, taking on challenges that an individual adventurer may fear to face, and braving even the most dangerous opponents. It is said that if there is any hope for the races of Tyria to find peace, it will come from the guilds and their atmosphere of cooperation and unity. For centuries, humans dominated the continent of Tyria, but over the last 250 years, that has changed. Humanity clings by a thread, maintaining its cities only through the absolute dedication of its armies. Ascalon City fell. Rin belongs to the Char. Lion's Arch, inundated by tidal waves, was rebuilt by the mercenary guilds, and Or rose into undeath and corruption. The gods of the humans have been notably distant these past 2 centuries, withdrawing into silence, even as the world beneath them shattered. Although they still answer prayers, they do not intervene, even as Tyria crumbles and the human race calls out desperately for heroes to save them from their darkening struggle. Having lost their homeland to the Char, the humans of the Ascalonian kingdom have been pushed ever west and south. The great northern wall fell, and Ascalon City lies in ruins. The royal line of Adalbern ended with the death of Prince Rurik. The lone remaining human fortress in Ascalon lies at the far southern tip, where the eastern Blaze Ridge Mountains merge with the western Shiver Peaks. This last Ascalonian fortress, known as Ebonhawk, stands alone against all the might the Char legions have to offer. The continuing conflict between the humans and the Char along the borders of Ascalon forced the humans ever further into the Shiver Peaks. Although open war has ended save on a few small fronts, the hatred between the Char legions and the human kingdoms never abated. If anything, it's worse than ever before. Ebonhawk stands alone in defiance, supplied by an Asura gate from Crichton territories. The Char solidified their control over Ascalon from their original lands in the north all the way south to the merging of the 2 mountain ranges at the edge of the Crystal Desert. Within the main territories of Ascalon, between the broken Great Northern Wall and the Fortress of Ebonhawk, the Char rule, but not unchallenged. In the last battle of Ascalon City, Adalbern used the final power of his enchanted blade, Magdare, a relic from the age when the true gods walked Tyria and built the city of Ara. The stories told by the Char, and the few scattered human survivors of the battle, speak of a gout of sword-shaped flame rising from the highest tower in the city. After a white burning heat swept the city streets, and the dead and defeated Ascalonian gods arose once more, their spirits animated by the power of Adalbern's sword. In the face of the spectral resistance, the Char were forced to abandon the city. Since that time, the spectral soldiers have guarded the ruins of Ascalon City and the eastern frontier. They resist the Char, but do not communicate with the living soldiers from Evenhawk. Their spirits are only memories, the lingering presence of a past that cannot let go of the present. Some believe that one day, when the rightful king of Ascalon returns with one of the two flaming swords, either Adalbern's Magdare or his sons, named Sahothan, the Legion will abandon the city and sink at last into peaceful death. Until then, everyone is the enemy. Kryta, too, has known its share of conflict and heartache. Once noble, Lion's Arch fell to the plundering sea, its coast devastated by storms, rising water, and tidal waves. And yet the nation of Kryta is the last bastion of humanity, and in that, their last hope. Under siege from other races for centuries, beset by bad luck and misfortune, and perhaps even forgotten by the gods themselves, human civilization is on the verge of collapse. Only Kryta's crown has survived to this modern age. Although various factions restore the Krytan throne to its rightful owner, a descendant of Queen Salma, there is no peace in the Talmark wilderness. The lands of Kryta have known significant upheaval, both in war and internal conflicts. As the sole remaining human kingdom on the continent of Tyria, Ascalonians flock there in droves with no king and no real leadership. The few humans who claim Orient descent never proclaim their heritage publicly. Being connected to those dark lands is dangerous in these times. Refugees from Ilona and Cantha, discovering themselves trapped by the rising waters of Or, struggle to maintain a native culture while integrating into Krytan society. This melting pot of humanity provides the one thing they all seek, a home. Through faith in the gods and the nobility of the Krytan spirit, the Queen solidified her hold over Tyria and her people, and did not devolve into tyrannical rule. From the beginning, they were willing to accept Ascalonian refugees, and as cataclysms across the world displaced other humans, and Canthans and Elonans joined the wave of humanity fleeing to the new city of Divinity's Reach, they all found a welcome home in the high bastion created to replace Lion's Arch when the floodwaters of Or claimed it. Divinity's Reach, a breathtaking monument of white parapets and high, pale towers, was built on the edge of the Divinity Coast, far from the rising waters of the southern bays. In Divinity's Reach, the new Queen of Kryta established a system of government designed to give all people, not just native Krytans, a voice. Senators design law, proposing their measures to the Queen, who authorizes or rejects their placement into society. These senators come from all human races, representing many voices working in tandem with the Queen's will. Initially, this system was designed as a temporary government for the refugee camps, but in the 150 years since the flood of Lion's Arch, it has become a stable system, a respected government, and a cornerstone of Krytan culture. However, Kryta is not unassailed. Secret agents of the White Mantle still fight for their unseen gods, and the centaurs displaced across the continent are flooding into human territory, fighting over every scrap of land. Kryta is a war zone with few safe havens, a land where humans must fight for their security and their future. Risen from the ocean by the will of a powerful undead dragon, Or no longer stands under human control. The beings roaming those lands are twisted, perverted remnants of Or's once magnificent culture, drowned by magic and then raised into service by the will of a monster so terrible there are only whispers of its nature. They now serve a dragon more horrible and more powerful than any other being in Tyria. The Elder Dragon of Or rules this re-emerged continent with an indomitable will, claiming the peninsula for its own. The city of Ara, where once the true gods walked, rose to the surface to become the creature's home. Its arrival heralded a time of cataclysm and change for the world. Though Ara lies in ruins, conquered by the dragon and its minions, those who ventured into Orian soil say they have seen her spired towers, bedecked with rotting banners, and guarded by twisted, draconian troops. When the dragon awoke and the peninsula breached the waves, once ruined buildings and shattered coastal highways rose above the sea as well. In addition to drowning the coastlands of Kryta and flooding Lion's Arch, this cataclysmic event turned parts of the northern Ilona green again, for a time. The changes were truly cataclysmic across all of Tyria. Only the greatest of heroes dare venture within the ruined cities of Or. To adventure there is to face the dragon and its minions directly, and that creature's power is not to be underestimated. Many of the corsairs who inhabited the island chain before the peninsula rose again were subsumed by the dragon's power, twisted by its breath, and enslaved to its will. Ships with black sails built from seized corsair vessels sail on the Strait of Malcor, west of Or. These vessels surround the Fire Islands, manned by undead minions of the dragon that fear neither fire nor sea. This undead armada has cut off all contact with Cantha, and the dragon's undead army wages war even now along the northern Elonian border, preventing all in Tyria from departing for other land for now. This reading of the Movement of the World will continue tomorrow.